It's 7 o'clock. Okay, we're going to start. This is notice that is posted pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of Nassau Bay, Texas will conduct a regular meeting on February 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at Council Chambers, City Hall at 1800 Space Park Drive. This is Suite 200, Nassau Bay, Texas. I've made the call to order. The roll call shows all are present, and move to the invocation. Pastor Dan, if you would, please.
It is good to be here with you all tonight. I never asked, Mayor, is there anything I could pray about for the city of Nassau Bay? Put you on the spot. I know there's a lot.
Just continued progress and peace on the streets.
Amen. Okay. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the opportunity to serve in this community. We thank you for Nassau Bay and its citizens and leaders, for Mayor Phil and for the entire council. We ask, Lord, for safety on our streets, for progress and moving forward with this community. We pray for all the residents of this community. We pray for wisdom and guidance in this meeting tonight, for knowledge, for leadership, and for this community and all our first responders who serve this community, but also beyond. Lord, be with our military men and women. Bless and keep them always in your care. Bring them all home safely to us. Lord, with all that's going on this last weekend and even rumors floating around and next door and Leak City stuff, Lord, give our police officers your peace and give them continued courage and leadership. Lord, we ask all this in the strong name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Dan. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the Texas under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, here's a special one. This is Patty Engineer. I hope I pronounced that last name properly. This is a check in order to support Wheels and Keels.
Wheels and Wheels.
I apologize for that. What I want to say to the folks here tonight, that this is a substantial increase from what we've normally done. This organization has reached out. They're looking at involving many more of our hotels. They're doing activities down this way, which have been primarily down in the Seabrook area. So we're very appreciative of that, and we always want to support those activities. That, for one, everybody loves this event. I mean, this is a fact, but that it's also helping us more. I'm very pleased to be presenting a check for $50,000.
Yeah.
Why don't you say a few things? Why don't you just give it again some history?
Carrie Garnett is on our board of directors. This is the 28th year of Keels and Wheels. We are celebrating the antique and classic car and boats that are here in our area in Texas and actually all over from the country. The way that we want to involve Nassau Bay, for the very first time, we're going to offer transportation, free transportation to folks here in Nassau Bay to the show back and forth, so they don't have to go down Nassau Bay. So really excited about that. We are very excited this year too, because we're celebrating the 60th year of the Mustang. Can you believe? 60 years, and 60 year of Donzi for you boat lovers, and Resto Mods. You want to tell them what a Resto Mod is?
Resto mods are the coming thing with the younger generation, and not even that. If you're 65 years old and you had a 1968 Camaro and you loved it and you'd like to have it, and now you have the money, you can get one made with all new running gear and everything and restored for a couple $100,000. We're devoting a big area, if any of you have been down there, right there in the main tent, to the resto mods. We've got some unusual cars coming in from all over the United States. We've got a couple of Range Rover Discoverers that have about $400,000 on them. We've got a next Charger that's all carbon fiber. We've got a lot of local cars, the guys around here. We've got a lot of collectors in this area. I don't know if you don't know it, we have a lot of collectors in this area. And we've got a lot of those, as well as the old iron, we call it, the older cars and the vintage cars, which will be always on that entrance coming in. So we hope you'll come out. This year, we've had some bad luck with weather for 2 years, so we feel like maybe this year is going to be our year.
What was the name of that boat again?
Donzie.
Donzie.
Some of the fire chief here was saying that they need a second boat. You know, so
It's fast. They're
This
very
one, this
fast.
one,
Yeah,
I have
very
one. I have a
fast.
1967 called a Sweet 16. This was the boat in 67. It's got a 383 Chevy Stroker engine in it. That's about 80 miles an hour.
Sounds like looking up. All right,
We want to invite all of you. Please bring your kids, bring the grandkids, bring your families.
great event.
It's a great event. We look forward to having you there and all the city council, absolutely, and then all of you and the wonderful residents here of Nassau
Yeah.
Bay.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, next, Chief, want to come up? We just had a fun one. This is a serious one, and it's one that makes me very proud. So I'll turn it over to you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I can have Sergeant Bain, Officer Process, come forward. We have several life-saving awards that are going to be presented this evening. 3 of our officers, 2 different incidents. The first one involves Sergeant Jason Bain and Corporal Mike Basas. On November 29th, 2023, at about 7:30 p.m., officers received an assist by law call for a 78-year-old male who had collapsed at Bell Harbor tennis courts. The male was in distress and having difficulty breathing, and he had a history of heart-related issues. When these officers arrived, the male was not breathing. The officers began to immediately administer CPR to the patient while notifying dispatch and then gathering medical information from the patient's friends who were at the scene. EMS arrived on the scene shortly thereafter and took over medical treatment of the patient and transported him to the hospital on his own and was admitted for observation. EMS personnel involved in this situation credit these officers' actions with the success of saving the patient's life. On behalf of the Nassau Bay residents, thank you both. I'll have both of you stay up here while Officer Craddock, can you come forward, please? Officer C.J. Craddock. On December 16, 2023, Officer Craddock made a traffic stop for a vehicle that was speeding. Upon contacting the driver, he was informed that they were on their way to the hospital and that a female passenger of the vehicle had overdosed on an unknown substance. Officer Kreiner assessed the female and observed the discoloration in her skin and her eyes while her eyes were rolling in an active seizure. He immediately requested medical assistance and then administered the department-issued Narcan to the female, which brought her back. The medical team advised that the deployment of the Narcan at that time contributed to the success of the treatment of the patient. It was later determined at the hospital that the patient had benzos and methamphetamines in her system. So thank you, Officer Craddock, for adhering to policies and using the Narcan that we provided, saving a life.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm going to try to move this along a little bit. Citizens' comments, public hearing. It is 7:11 and it's open. Anybody who would like to make a comment, you have 3 minutes. Please come on up. Are there any takers? Going once. I'm really glad to see everybody here. So going twice. 3 times. It's 7:12. Public hearing's closed. Moving on to council member comments. Paula?
Certainly would like to congratulate the police officers that were recognized. We appreciate their service, and those individuals are lucky that we have dedicated employees. Secondly, the Public Works Department is really moving along, and we need to recognize their efforts in the potential cold, getting everything ready for the freeze that didn't quite materialize, but they worked hard to get it done. And our Mardi Gras trees in the front look great. So thank you to everybody working on those issues with the city.
I second everything Paula just said. This makes me very proud to be a part of NASA. They always great things that are doing it. The great officers that serve us. So thank you. I'd also like to remind everybody that Troop 1966, which is the Boys Scout Troop at St. Thomas the Apostle, oh, thank you, the flyer, is selling a flag subscription. So the plan is to put out flags 4 times a year. It would be a Sunday through Sunday for Memorial Day, Independence Day, Patriots Day, and Veterans Day. It's $65 for the year, so we'll come out and install them on a pole. They're all going to be brand new flags because we're just starting the subscription service up for our troop. If you're interested, you can ask me, or you can email flags@troop1966.org. That's it.
As brief as possible. I do want to say thank you to those officers again, and to Chief and James for making that marathon camp available to us and our officers, and we started saving lives. Also to parks. I don't know if anybody's been down to Founders Park lately, but there's been a lot of trees cleared out there, a lot of dead trees. It looks immaculate. It's really good to see right after the water. And then also James and I went to Epicurean night a few weeks ago. I think on the 1st, and there's a ton of great restaurants in this area, some of which I didn't even know existed until I went. So get out there, check out the local restaurants. There's a lot of them, even here in Nassau Bay, in the surrounding areas, of course, for that.
James?
Yeah, I have to echo Chase in regards to the event, which was very nice. First time I did the Epicurean actually. And I think I have a Frank award for the city for our support for that. That gets you after the meeting. I did want to say an immense thank you to the officers that put their lives on the line for us every single day. Whether it's following the buses, like you know I'm talking about, or pulling somebody over or being there to assist when people need it. The importance of our officers and what they do for us in the community, I think, is really critical. We are going to be having my regular safety meeting, which will be next Tuesday at 6 p.m. up here at City Hall. That's the 3rd Tuesday of every month. Unfortunately, we didn't have one last night, but I also want to bring up an incident that happened yesterday at Lakewood. It's important that everybody understands that we're in a climate where mental health is critical, and the resources there are critical. Anything like that can happen anytime, anywhere, any place, and the majority of people never expect it to happen to them. It's when you least expect it that something does happen, unfortunately. Lakewood had the accessibility to the security there, and they responded very quickly. They had the controls, and they responded very fast. Nassau Bay is very similar with that, and it's good to see that our officers respond quickly to save lives in many cases. Thank God it was a shooting, thank God it was a heart attack, and we saved a life. I appreciate what they do, and I commend the officers for what they do in front of the line for us in the city. With that, I'd like to say for the flags, 100% awesome, it's great. And in addition to that, there's a discussion with the Scoutmaster there. That's what with the Dropbox here that I discussed actually over there. Father Mike will approve it over there at the church so that we can actually have 2 locations of Dropbox because we do have quite a few flags to get right now. So we'll have one of the city hall here. There we have one over there.
We need it because I was amazed at the demand.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's great. So thank you.
Sarah?
The benefit of going to second to last is I can say what they said. Plus, I just want to say, again, so much appreciation for our officers. They're out there every day doing everything to keep us safe and to keep people safe from themselves a lot of the time with mental health issues that are going on in the community, and every community. So, that's all I want to say. And pass it down.
Last but not least, I think everyone did a great job. I echo everyone's comments. I'll end on a happy note. I know we have a long agenda. I was fortunate enough to attend the Houston Livestock Show Rodeo fashion show, and Lacey and Shane did a fabulous job, and Paul was there and we had a lot of fun. So happy Valentine's. Let's go.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've got a couple things to say. One, I just think Sergeant Bain, Officer Cavazos, Kreider, it really matters what you guys do out there, and that there are people whose lives have been saved because your effort is just a good indication of that. People don't say thank you enough. So, Chief, if you would, those guys did a great job. So I really appreciate that. I also want to make mention, Pastor Dan at Glory Day made mention of it. I believe he was kind of inferring there was potential for a League City active shooter. There's some information that came across social media. There was some folks from Wyoming. I don't even know how they got to harassing some teens in League City, but it was a threat. I think the school did a great job. And in talking to Paul and kind of going over that, I was extremely pleased that there was a proactive response by our police department that reached out to our churches, wanted to make sure that there was a communication, that they were aware of it. And I believe that's the first line of defense for keeping particularly children, the most vulnerable, safe. And I know they appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I thank there's some interesting things here that you're gonna find come on social media or on some things. We got kind of sent a little bit of a curveball with the Charter Review Committee. You're going to see we're going to have a special meeting this Thursday. Apparently, a item that will be on the election or referendum May 5th, I believe it is, 4th. Then we've kind of decided it by Friday the 16th. So I know that Gary Moss and those have done a really good. They're accelerating their final report, but that's something that's coming our way here on council. That we're going to have a special meeting to review that to see whether or how we move forward, because it is a very tight timeline. I want to second what Paula said. The tree trimming looks fantastic, Paul. Just everything along that the city's doing on the public works. I love the fact that other cities are asking us what we're doing because we've taken it to another standard. And we've always wanted Nassau Bay to be the center of Clear Lake. And with the work that's going on, I think we are really pushing the envelope and making that statement. So I really appreciate the attention to detail. And I know some of the next areas after Founders Park, we're looking up at some of the trees at Howard Ward Park. We want to raise the canopy so that we can again enhance the water views of as many citizens as we can, because that directly relates to property values. So we're actively looking at doing that, and again, I can't say enough for the guys at Public Works. I got a couple other things I wanted to say, Boy Scouts, but I think that's enough been said. Just the only thing I'd add there, those are primarily, I think, exclusively, boys that are here in Nassau Bay. So Troop 1966
We're
is a
chartered
Nassau.
here for sure. Not all the boys are from Nassau Bay, but
Thank you.
there's a lot of Nassau
Yeah,
Bay boys in that troop.
Which
Yeah.
the previous troop that had been here, nobody was from Nassau Bay. So from that standpoint, I really like the fact that the kids are taking this initiative. So please support them. And then the last thing I have is we've got a kind of a coincidence of 3 different holidays. So happy Mardi Gras, happy Valentine's Day, and happy Ash Wednesday, all in 2 days. So that's all I have. So, good. Paul?
Yes, so last month, we did a lot of work and it was cold and it rainy, so the public works guys, well, I'm on the city manager report. So, transitioning into my new role, appreciate staff helping me, get on board with that. We're looking into a lot of drainage improvements, about 200 feet of improvements on Davon, Point Lookout. We're also looking at some improvements on Space Park. And then the city did receive the $2.3 million for the dedicated 4 miles of water line. So we're on the construction engineering side of those drawings right now. And then also we've been interviewing for the city secretary position and also for the park supervisor position. And we just got a lot of good things coming up, and I'll probably get more detail on the public works report. And just appreciate the staff and residents reaching out to me and welcoming to this new role.
And I always say you tend to downplay what you do when you say about those 4 linear miles between what we've done last year, this year, and what you're planning on doing there. There's about 15 linear miles of underground piping in Nassau Bay, of which once he does this, we'll have completed 10 of the 15. That's how new your infrastructure is going to be. We did some of that about 15 years ago too, so this will really make it so that our infrastructure is brand new. So good job. Police, Chief.
All right, thank you again, Mayor and Council, the citizens. So I'll keep this brief because I think we'll get there for a couple of agenda items later on. So you're going to get tired of seeing me tonight. Report for January, our current numbers for January 2024. We responded 301 calls for service, 45 reports were taken, 195 traffic stops, 108 citations were issued, 140 written or verbal warnings, 7 total arrests, 6 were misdemeanors, 1 was felony. A total of 3,563 patrol miles during the month, and our average response time for the month of January was 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Is that a record, Chief? 2 minutes and 17 seconds? Because usually it's like, plus or minus 10 seconds around 3. That's pretty low.
Okay, did you say?
No, I'm just saying.
I haven't kept the running. I mean, we have them, but I haven't looked at them.
That's it.
So we're usually about below 3.5 minutes. So that is pretty low.
It is pretty low.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Question for you real quick. Sorry, I need to get there for a while later on too. Just looking at the cases that we have, a couple of them, case number 1, and then 3, 5, and 35. 3 of those were emergency detention orders for mental health. Yeah, that's sorry.
I don't have a good memory, but I can look up real quick.
And I'm kind of curious about one, because it sounds like that, as much as it might have been an alcohol or liquor violation, it might have been a mental health issue with that. Just putting this out there. Also, a couple other ones in there, kind of concerned about the road contractors that have been that issue, the report of somebody coming in doing building work and then not receiving that. Are we collecting a list, or are we compiling a list with the planning or the building department in regards to those reported as, so that they don't come back to the city?
The only one I'm familiar with is one that we made call from Nassau Bay Drive, and they were operating. They were operating with permit. Yeah.
So
I'm not sure. Anything else with permits, the building officials, that would be the building department.
No, I guess this was a police report that came in that was reporting to the road contractor in regards to not receiving services for what they paid for. and how we're handling something like that.
Oh, that case was, investigated and there, when the investigation got a little bit deeper into it, the contractor was working with his bank and there was some crossover between the banks.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah.
Okay.
So that was just the way that the report came in, but the follow-up.
Right. And then I'm gonna kind of go off to, we've had a conversation about that. That's on the steady state. 3 different kind of situations in the past month at locations that were hotel or extended stay that I would stay. One of that kind of concerned me was case number 39, which actually there was confiscation of a knife. That was what I would consider a kind of like a mental health issue. And what are we doing to train the officers in handling that type of situation besides just taking a weapon away?
Well, the officers are all required to have mental health training by the state, so they all have that training to handle that. If that person needs to be transported to the hospital and they need mental health evaluation, the officers can file the proper paperwork to force that to happen. Okay.
Did we lose an investigator?
I'm sorry?
Did we lose an investigator? I think I was on 181 report.
No, we have one detective assigned to investigation or to assign as a detective. That's Detective Gallegos. Sergeant Crowder often will pick up some of the cases
Yeah,
to assist.
and
He didn't have any assignments this month, so that's why his name was not on that. Yeah. No, we haven't lost anybody recently. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Matt?
All right, so your volunteer fire department for the month of January ran 30 calls. We had 1,349 man-hours volunteers in the city. And our membership stands at 39, although we just finished processing 4 applicants. And so just earlier this evening, I made 4 phone calls with 4 individuals saying they're willing to come up and give it a try. So hope that number will be going up.
That's perfect. And that was in just 1 month, that number of man
Just 1
hours.
month. Yeah, we tend to have, about once a quarter, we'll get 4 applications. Now, history shows us we only really retain about 1 of those people, just because even if we retain 3 from that application pool, folks go off to school and we're other members. So our average is about out of every application pool, about 4 groupings. We get about 1 or 2 that stick around.
It's about 25 man weeks.
Yeah.
Just put it per month
Yeah, on the hours.
on the hours.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's such a great thing to we have metrics to track it. We're always looking at how we can do that better. That is when we start talking about ISO. That's a huge credit to the city.
It also says there's 25 man weeks of action in a month that we have people volunteering to help out, which is probably one of the biggest cost savers to the city, bar none.
Yeah.
Bar none.
At 1,300, you figure 2080 for a year, it's about every month, and a heck of 1, so that gives you about 7 to 9 full-time.
Correct. Exactly.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? No?
Public Works?
Yeah, so last month, as I mentioned, it was very cold and wet, but we were still able to do a lot of work. So we only had 1 main, so the new lines are helping out a lot. 260 feet of sewer lines were jetted to improve flow and capacity. And then we also had the 10 palm trees installed coming from the east and from the west side of town. They're installed, doing really good. We've also installed 13 new LED lights in the back of the parking lot. So if you park back there, you can see your car now. And so the guys were troopers last month. Like I said, it was very cold. A lot of tree trimming, did about 150 cubic yards of tree trimming. And then stormwater catch basins 4 times. And the black decorative center point lights on Nass Road 1, there were about half of them were out. And I've been working with center point. And as of yesterday, there was all back on. And so we're actually discussing transitioning those to LED lights. And so I'm just trying to figure out if they're going to charge us or I can get them free. So
Thank you for that. I was going to ask you, would you mind kind of explaining? I know we had an issue with where we had to transition to our Nassau Bay well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So might be able to explain what that situation was.
Yes, so we have the high pressure line that comes from the city of Houston and comes down Highway 3 to Clear Lake. This line is a steel line that's wrapped in 3/8 steel, rolled steel, covered by probably about 8 inches of concrete. It holds up to about 150 pounds of pressure. That rope, you have to get welders to come down. It takes 3 or 4 days. So we have a backup well water system. We can probably do close to about 1 million gallons in wells, but we don't like to because of subsidence. And so we activated our wells, coordinated with Clear Lake Water Authority, and then at the same time, we opened up a emergency interconnect bypass that we have with Clear Lake Water Authority. So we were getting about 50% of our water that was surface, and then 50% was a well. So as soon as we activated the wells, we got probably about 3 or 4 complaints. And then we switched over, flushed the line, make sure we had good water coming into the city. So we have a good amount of backup if we need to for a redundant system. Like I said, if both of our surface lines crater, we still can do about 1 million gallons of well water.
And Paul, just for the clarity of that was the Clear Lake and not us.
That was Clear Lake. Yes.
The southeast Asian plant.
That's right, that's right. Well, thanks for the quick response on that. I think that was great, and the information that went out to everybody via the SWIFT and by the text and the calls. So commend everybody for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to add on to you, Paul, is for all those who've asked, yes, our intention is to light those 20 trees, the 10 on both the east and west entry, just like the ones that are in the center of the city.
Yes.
So we haven't figured out exactly the funding for it yet, but that is our intent. Code enforcement?
You follow up on that?
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Then I'm, please.
I didn't know he was going to be here. I know that he was last week in testing for his fire, and he passed the school testing and the state test. So I know there was a big focus on it. It was, I think, a whole week last week just about doing testing. So
Okay. Thank you. Then I'm moving the agenda. I want to move this pretty quickly. For the consent agenda, we've got 6 items, which is approve the regular city council meeting of January 8th, consider and take action to approve the Economic Development Corporation minutes as approved by the board on January 22nd, consider and take action on the ordinance 2024-02-12C calling the May 4th, 2024 city general election for the purpose of electing mayor and 3 council members for positions 2, 4, and 6. So yes, this would be to authorize an election. Consider and take action on resolution 2024-02-12-A, authorizing the city with CCISD to share the city's polling place on May 4th. Number 5, which is consider and take action on the Centerpoint gas resolution to deny. I want to say that before we didn't deny, but this is to deny the rate application and consider the in consolidation. And then the last one, which is consider and take action on ordinance 2024-01-08-E, amending the Nassau Bay Municipal Code, section 19-28, dealing with areas where parking is limited or prohibited by additional streets or places to designate area to be limited or prohibited, providing a penalty and for severability and providing for codification. This would be the second and final reading. Anybody have any of these that they would like to pull off or want some additional information before we go to the consent?
Yes. 7.4. So question in relation, I'm reading through with that joint agreement with CCISD. I'd like to find out if they have machines for doing the voting, and it's my understanding that they will not be sharing those machines with us in this election that would be running. Is that correct?
We're providing them space, or correct me if I'm not,
Space.
just space like we do every election. So they have different issues on their election than ours. So it is not a joint polling place for both, jurisdictions. It's separate and distinct.
Inside that agreement, it stipulates that they're cost sharing for that.
I don't believe we've ever charged.
I don't think so.
We
No,
just
sir.
provided. Yeah. So. Any other question? Then I ask for a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda. That's exciting.
Do I hear a second? Ashley beat you. So, moved by Lucy, seconded by Ashley. Any further discussion? Then I call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Okay. Committee reports. Charter Review Commission. I think Gary was going to be here, but quite honestly, I think he is working very hard. I'm very much a day of my work today. We have a very tight schedule, as I mentioned, and the key is that the city council cannot act on anything unless it is voted on officially by the Charter Review Committee. And they were thinking they had to the 26th. That was when the meeting was going to be. It was discovered that it is the 16th. They are trying to get a quorum. As you can see, I've already called for a joint meeting between the Charter Review Committee and City Council for the 15th. And that would be, and have posted it, right? I don't know, Lacey, if you know we have a quorum. I hear not yet.
I don't think we have one yet.
Not yet. So just to forewarn here and the citizens is that if that time frame becomes too tight, we're going to have to think about what alternatives we do. I believe there are 4 issues that had come out. One, which is to correct the differences between state law and our charter. There is the topic of term limits for committee members to be consistent with council members. I believe there's a non-fraternization, sexual harassment, toxic work environment. And then the last one is looking at assessments every 3 years for the city for the different functional departments. So we can't act on any of those unless it comes out of that committee, which means either we have to look at codifying something beforehand or November or pushing a year. It's that tight. And a lot of this is coming out of what Harris County has pushed on us. So that's just where we are. Okay. So you'll hear more. I'll keep everybody up to speed. Parks and Recreation. Any questions? Any questions? Parks and Recreation Committee.
Good evening, everyone. So yes, just to go over the fact that the peninsula cleanup was unfortunately canceled. There was some lightning, and so they felt uncomfortable having the boats out there. But several citizens went down to Hebert Bay and helped unload the trash. We did have some Boy Scouts come out. These Boy Scouts have been doing great lately. They cleaned up along the shoreline and got a little bit of that trash taken away, which is really nice. So hopefully, they still were able to get a lot of trash cleaned up. It was a great project. And we'll be doing some more peninsula cleanup when we come to the Unification Day, March the 30th. That weekend, it might be 2 days. We're still trying to figure that out, like we did last year. And then also about the Boy Scouts, the Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful Committee is partnering with the Boy Scouts. They're going to replace all of the flags on the medians, Nassau Bay Drive, Point Lookout, and Upper Bay, and also in Swan Lagoon and Bell Harbor, where there's some are missing. Actually, the flag in Bell Harbor is missing. And then they got a private donor who paid for the flag, so it's free, but they're going to put them up and take care of them. So I think that's kind of cool to have them taking care of flags in the city and making it look nice. Then also the Beautification Day, I spoke about that a little bit. That's coming up on March the 30th. We got big plans again. We're going to partner with our students again to come out and help us. We're still going to try to paint more of the curbs with Chase. Chase has been leading that project, and also get them to plant flowers again. You probably saw some of them froze, so Public Works had to take them out. And we're going to replant flowers on the medians and in the regular gardens. We're going to support the garden club again and helping them. So I encourage everybody to put that on your calendar for the 30th, as we like volunteers. And we also will give work hours for the students. If they need service hours, we'll have that as well. And then going on about, let's see, where's my, okay. So back to the baseball field and the path in David Braun. You see the path is finished out where the lines are going to be for the golf carts to go and the walkers. And Paul put together some really nice stencils that look really cool. And then we'll put up some signs that say, this way for the golf carts and that way for the walkers. And hopefully we'll have our parking spots out there as well pretty soon. The dog park gate, the big dog park is done. Paul's almost ready to put that one in the small dog park.
Actually, they just poured it this week.
Well,
I was gonna say, I thought that had happened.
Yeah, they're really doing such a great job. And then also, I guess everybody has seen the trees trimming. We've seen that. The crepe myrtles are going to be done here. I think Paul said after February 14th.
Next weekend.
Next weekend. So if you guys have been looking at the crepe myrtles in the medians or the esplanades, those got to get cut way down. They have some ball moss growing in them. And that spreads to other trees. It doesn't kill the tree, but it makes it look like it's dead and it won't grow leaves. So if you do have crepe myrtles in your own yard and you see that ball moss in it, you should just get it cut down. This is the perfect time to do it in February here because it's after the freeze. So yeah, great job on those trees. It looks amazing. I think you can see the whole lake, the grass cut out. It looks beautiful, especially if you guys want to take a walk down to Founders Park and look around. It looks really good. So we're working on that. We also have, we've been working on the KNDB Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful sign project, where we are looking at if there's like dilapidated signs or things that are broken around the neighborhood to let us know. And we've been picking up on that. Paul and his team has been putting up the new signs and taking care of anything that looks, like it's not quite right. Also, code enforcement has done that as well with the curb painting. And then we have the electric box wraps that we're going to do with some of the same projects. We're going to have an artist contest and then have the boxes wrapped with the kind of art that you've seen probably in Big City where they have the boxes wrapped up. We've been working on that. We've got some new benches going in. I don't know if you've purchased those yet, but he was in the process of doing it, I think. Some more benches where if you've seen some broken benches in Howard Ward, there's one over by the baseball field. And we're going to put some extra ones out by the playground in Swan Lagoon. So that would be really nice. Also in Swan Lagoon, Paul's working on fixing that sidewalk, which is broken, and making it wider for the people to drive, through that as well, like we have at the David Park.
We're specifically ADA access.
ADA access, yes. So
Playground.
you can get in there. So that park's really coming up. One of the projects we wanted to do on beautification day, if we can manage it, is to paint those gazebos in Swan Lagoon. So that, because they look a little bit ratty. And so that was like one project that we put down. If we can get enough students to help us, we can go over there and maybe paint those up and get those looking nice, because that park is just really looking nice. We're still continuing to look at the other thing with the splash pad. We got a quote this week, which I haven't had a chance to share with Paul yet, seeing the pickleball courts and putting lights at the pickleball court. We did get calls already. I think, have you started already on the basketball field? It was covered by insurance.
Yes.
So where the basketball field was, the basketball court had a skid mark on it and is kind of breaking up. Paul got that covered by insurance and he's already starting on that. And we're going to get the basketball backdrops as well, fixed up as part of that.
Yeah, half the court.
In the court too, we're going to turn the court sideways to make it like two courts that you could play on either side. With the pickleball court, we wanted to get a price for an extra one. I don't know if the mayor is able to find budget since the base basketball court was covered under insurance, but we're going to present that at the next meeting. We do, okay, great. So it would be great to have another pickleball court out there with the lights, and we're getting a quote. And hopefully that vendor that gave us the quote will come to the next parks meeting and make a presentation and tell us, what they're going to do with and everything, which would be nice. So if anybody wants to come and hear about that, that would be great. We have another person on the committee that's working on trying to put out a garden over there on Leeward Lane, where it's just kind of empty. They have that beautiful area where the boat is with the wrought iron fence. So I did get somebody who reached out to me and said they would be willing to donate the gardens. We can't put benches sadly there because of FEMA, but to put some gardens there and make some plants there so that it will look nice. It's kind of just overrun right now. And so that's another project that we have. And so I think that's it right now. We're still working on the astronaut statue for out front. The Moon Tree event. Now we have to push it back because of the special guests that we wanted to have. So just keep your ears open about that for the second set of moon trees that's gonna go in.
It's also the beginning weekend of spring break, so a lot of the activities are for kids.
Yeah, and a lot of the kids are gonna be gone and some of the volunteers will be gone on March 9th. So we're gonna pick another day that's gonna coincide with everybody's schedule. If anybody has any questions? Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Michelle, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. Do we have an update on what we're gonna do with the lights that are along the trail there? Not the trail.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, the ones that are broken. We were talking about that. We're gonna talk about that in the meeting coming up. I couldn't remember, Paul, did you say you had some extra ones of those that we could fix along the trail? You know, if you're coming from Founder's Park and you go around the back, several of those lights are broken.
All the way from the peninsula around.
He's talking about
Oh, you're talking about
the big
all
black
those.
solar lights.
Yeah, they're also on the path for
Yeah,
Founder's
they
Park,
are.
and I thought you were looking at, if we had some extras, maybe you could say more about that?
Yeah, so we're working with the electrician that actually did the palm tree lights. He's gonna look at our solar lights and see if he can transition an LED a little bit better new technology. The technology that's out there old and it's out of warranty. It's been flooded, so we're working with them. We're actually gonna give him one of our lights and he's gonna take it back to the shop and just give it some different, or completely get rid
Yeah,
of them at all.
let me chime in here a little bit. This is a big project, guys. This is not, these have been historically fouls in them so that they can't get to the solar panels. The programming on it goes haywire. I believe there's a good portion of them that comes on during the day and are off at night, which is, not good. But this is going to cost some money, which we haven't budgeted. So just heads up for doing this. This would be a big project.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because we had a lot of citizens write to me and say, here's these lamps that are out. And so it's nice to have the citizen input on that, but thank you for bringing that up, James.
I'm just curious if, since Centerpoint is looking at doing something with us, and Centerpoint do the lights out of line, now they want a relationship with us.
I would hope. I'm not optimistic, but that's yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I know that they do not put lights in parks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to get a couple of different options.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thanks. Special event?
Just want to announce that we're having a meeting Friday at 6 to discuss Easter in the Park if anyone wants to join us.
Okay. Planning Commission?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Planning Commission did meet on January 9th. The outcome from that meeting will be stayed based on further action and by the city council.
Yeah. I'll say more when you come up, and I'll ask Chris Nichols to make some comments too, but that's later in the for the public hearing.
Any questions?
Yeah, no, we're not going. Yeah, correct. Take a little bit of a courtesy here of accelerating one of the topics that is near the end to be here earlier. It's I believe Mike Stone from St. Thomas has a hard back end at 8:15, but I'd like to move to item number 11.9 in new business first before we address old business to accommodate that timing constraint. And I'll start with this. This is discussion and potential action to install the historic organ at the St. Thomas Episcopal Church. I've talked to a couple people on council. I'll state this. I think this is something of real historic value for our city. I'm very much determined to elevate our city as a destination. I think it helps in our whole, not only as our community, I believe it helps out with our business community, and I believe it also strengthens our four pillars of churches here in Nassau Bay. I think sometimes they're kind of overlooked, and it is something I've tried to elevate during the past 2 years. And I think from my perspective, I just talk personally, I think this is a really neat idea. And I know there's been some concerns, but there's also been support. I'd like to get a consent from this council as to how you'd like to direct me to work, because I'd like to work with St. Thomas and Mike Stone in particular to see how we could consider a financial support to accelerate the installation of this historic work. I'd like to hear from people and what they would like to do.
So I'm a huge fan of St. Thomas, obviously, just because of everything we do for our community. I am in full support of this. I'm curious, are there things we can do with hot funds because it will be bringing people in?
Yeah, that's
And
a good
if
question.
that's the case, then yes for everybody.
So my intent, because this would be for the arts, it is music. It is also, I understand that they are looking at bringing in people from the Episcopal hierarchy that would be coming in, maybe even having competitions, maybe even having just as a, for within the Episcopal Church. So there would be potentially heads and beds, which I know, Jaime, you keep reminding us we got to do heads and beds. I think it does all that. So hot tax would be where I would want to come here, which for people, we have about 800 of discretionary funding available in this fund to be able to do things. And it seems like it could be a win-win-win for a lot of things, but that would be my intent.
Okay.
So, again, if I remember, and I should please chime in and correct me where I'm not correct, but there's about another $250,000 to maybe $300,000 of installation costs that are uncovered. They have a gala coming up, I think this Friday, if I remember, in order to help support that. And to me, either looking at how we cover the difference or maybe matching funds, or I'd really like to know just what people think here. And if there's any concerns, to make sure that we do things. They do have a 501c3, so this would not be a direct contribution to the church itself, or concerns around separation of church and state. That's, I don't know if you have something you'd like. I'd recognize you if you'd like to make some comments or.
Well, thanks. I mean, really, it's just good to know this is not like a pipe organ. This would
Yeah.
be the fourth publicly playable organ in the United States of this particular vintage. So, it's not like a Rolls Royce, because they still make those.
Yeah, true.
And it's a historic Texas instrument too. It's installed in the state senator's home, and then it moved from a sort of private mansion up to Wichita Falls to support a music program, and then essentially an organ lover bought it and sent it curiously enough our way, and so we're 2/3 of the way there, and we're going to do it. The question is just
how fast.
How
And
fast,
yeah.
right? And, what's different about it is that it has 4,000 pipes, which is not a volume feature. That's how many different tones it can make. So we've heard its twin sister played. The twin lives in Denver, and it sounds like a full symphony with the glockenspiel and chimes. We've heard the Nutcracker Suite played on it, and it sounded like you were at Jones Hall.
Yeah. And again, my understanding is this is one of 4 of
This
these
would be the
organs.
fourth publicly playable
Yeah.
one that's
Correct.
fully complete. So when you talk about the hot tax, right, like it's for the arts, but it's also historic.
Correct. All
reservation
of the above. I know, and I'll provide a leeway for people to comment, so that express just how much public access there would be for this. So that's a topic that I think we need to nail down.
As with everything that happens at St. Thomas, everything's open.
Correct. Yeah.
Where we need to make sure there's a legal analysis of the percent that can be spent on arts, and the heads and beds measures and the different tests that are there for the hot tax.
Yeah, fair enough.
We need to analyze that. We haven't done that yet.
No, we haven't done. I just want to make sure this is here, and I'd love to hear from others just what they think as to whether we should progress this and things along that. I'd like to
So quick question. I know that there was some prior conversation in relationship to this, and my expectation there'll be an application that will be sent in to the city council if that case to be reviewed and assessed. And then with that, if I recall correctly, prior, when you were up, you were talking about some of the events that were in other locations and those drawings. It would be great to get just information on those what kind of draw they have. So kind of, earmark it against other locations that might have the same type of problem, for that. And to the point, I think that you bring up a very good point is that inside of it, since 501c3, the nice part is having some of this growing forward, if you will. And I'm sure you saw when you were up in Denver there, they have somebody who can walk through the history of the organ itself, in relationship to all its background, where it came from, and all of that. Additionally, I also understand that with it's going to take a unique individual that's skilled in actually assembling this. And I'm assuming that person has been found, and that person is associated with all the pieces that. Okay.
Yeah, I think they've moved the pieces and assessed every single one of the pieces already.
Yeah.
It's just like a million pieces.
Yeah, that's what I've seen the pictures. Unbelievable.
Actually, when I was over for my son's and scouts, I go through there because they have meetings in the different rooms. I kind of eyeing where is the organ pieces inside of the church. Yeah. I can go find them, but I'm sure that if I went over, I could get a tour of where they all are. No problem. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I need to just say, I'm in full support of us helping fund this organ. St. Thomas is definitely near and dear to my heart. I think it's something that would set our city apart for sure. I want to make sure that all of our, I's are dotted, T's are crossed in terms of making sure we meet the tax requirement. And I guess I know Mike and I spoke earlier today, just can give us a sense for the timing. I know that it sounds like stuff is already, in progress. So coming down to whether we match it or we, fund it fully, what the timeline looks like.
Yeah, I think so. 2/3 of the money, and so we have cash on hand to start some of the development parts. Essentially, it's not just laying pipes together. The chambers have to be built such that the resonance is correct, and that's actually all been engineered. A structural engineer has already signed off on that. Fire marshal has signed off on that plan. So we're getting ready to execute that part of the plan, the build out of the chambers. And once the chambers are built, essentially the console has to be rewired because it's 100 years old. So the wiring's not the code. So that's like part 2, and then start laying the pipes. How long does that take? Probably takes about I want to say it takes a year, which means I better say it takes 18 months.
Yeah. that was going to be my question. What are the time frames?
Yeah, so like for us, like we would love to have a holiday concert in 2025.
Yes.
The thing is fully operational, and it's not just a skilled installer that you need. You also need someone who knows how to play them, right? And we're pretty fortunate that our organist is a Royal Fellow Society of Music, and there's like 7 of those. So, and we mentor organ people already. Like we have a student at U of H playing. So we think this plays to what we're already doing and offering. We used to host the Music Necessity Day area before it was dissolved. That was every month, and that was pretty constant. So it's just sort of in our bones to do that.
Any other comments? Chase? Paul?
You have my support.
My support.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please. I was hoping somebody would.
I move that we allow Phil to work with whichever representatives are necessary from St. Thomas the Apostle to work department and our city council, ensure that we're doing things legally, but look at all options we have to fund this with hot tax, what we can do to help with hot tax funds to make this happen.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend that. I'd like that if we can amend it to be the 501c3.
Yes.
So amended.
So amended.
Second. Do I have a second by James? Any other comments? Any other consideration? That helps me tremendously.
I'm
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to abstain. Obviously, I support the project, but I can abstain because I just feel like my mom's been involved in some of the fundraising efforts, and I just want to be
Fair enough.
I'm not in support.
Are you gonna-
I actually have a
Not for
table.
your mom, all right.
I have a table at the gala on Fridays, so for me personally, not a sitting table, so obviously I like.
On the same note of abstention, I'm just curious if, I'm the only person on city council here who actually went to school there before. I before it was a school, before it was a school. So I went here before.
All right, guys. All right, guys. I have a motion. I'm going to move the motion. Any other comments or questions? Then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Looks like 6 with 1. Thank you. I think that I'll be in touch. All right. I'll be in touch. All right. And it's 8:01, just so you know.
You're welcome.
Okay. Moving back to, this is a lot of this are second readings, but we're going to the old business, section 9.1, consider and take action on an ordinance 2024-01-08 regarding the apartment complex crime index ordinance. This is the second and final reading.
We can type in.
Okay. Council, since the first reading of the last meeting on including the extended stay hotels into the apartment ordinance, I spoke to city manager Paul a bit, and I said did not see this changes to adding this into the ordinance. And since that time, Paul set up a meeting with Councilman Abbey. We sat down and we discussed it. And I have some numbers I can, if you want to see them. When we add a real quick overview, when we add the hotels into the apartment, dilutes the formula. Using last year's numbers from 2022, we had 3 apartment complexes that were deficient in meeting the threshold. When we added the hotels, none of those apartment complexes were deficient any longer. We also looked at taking just the 2 of the extended stay hotels by themselves and adding them into a separate ordinance and developing a similar formula. And those 2 hotels were so similar to each other that they neither of them were in a deficient category with that. With that being said, we've also built a relationship of working with the different hotels and the management where some of the management, and I have some numbers, but just for example, the management teams are calling in anywhere between 66% of the calls at the criminal events that are happening on their property are being called in by the management to the police department saying, come over here, if you have an issue, take care of this with us. And we don't want to diminish that working relationship that we have with them. So one of the things that we started doing several years ago with the apartments, instead of just giving them the numbers at the end of the year, we're sharing their calls for service at their properties with them every month. So they can personally look and see if they have repetitive apartments or repetitive issues from repetitive leaseholders, leasees. And one of the things we talked about is we can start doing that with the meeting with the apartment, hotel management teams and letting them know we're going to start sharing that information with them so they can see what's happening on their property on a monthly basis. So if there's recurring issues, if they do have, and I haven't been able to meet with those part of the hotel management teams to find out, do they even have any idea of what the percentages of extended stay hotel leases or tenants at the hotels. One of the other problems that we one of the required actions to be taken if an apartment is in violation of the apartment crime index ordinance are things that the hotel management staff can do, background investigations before they lease to somebody or before they let them in. Credit reports, things like that, which start going to happen when somebody walks in there. So talking with Councilman Abbey is my recommendation.
Yeah, I'll jump, Sure. So one of the things that when this initiated, the whole hope is that we would have this separate kind of category from the apartments, because of the number of calls we have within the apartments and the way that they're, as Chief has pointed, how that is rated and how we actually codify that inside of an ordinance. The extended stay hotels have a different one, which is within that period of time, is that they can basically up to 30 days. That is a requirement that they have for the state for extended hotel or actually hotel. In addition, kind of the layout of the agreement that which they have. In the we look at and discuss, and actually even in the context of some of the call outs, one of the things that is highlighted is the call for services is usually an eviction. And that eviction is, I need you to come here and take someone out. They being kicked out. Their security is not handling our police force is doing eviction order that you would see with the county constable going and doing that. We're having to do that for those residents. And then of course, any of the calls we have for mental health checks, like the incident with the gentleman did that night from, those types of things that they're unable to handle. And so looking at that, one of the things that we discussed was coming up for a policy in place of an ordinance in regards to how they operate and engage in those extended stays. And with that, because the criteria is very different, you have someone who has here you have somebody who can actually recurringly do month to month to month to month with these people if they wanted to. But the criteria is very different. Like the chief said, in regards to that ordinance, you have a credit check, you have a background check. You're not going to get that. You're going to get somebody another one. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so I think that the approach of us taking the resolution and adding to, or the ordinance and adding to it the extended stay doesn't really fit the purpose. So what I had discussed with the chief and Paul was coming up with a policy that we would review and assess. We brought forward the council and just a yay and nay to that in regards to the policy, how they handle the work with those extended stay hotels, and then implementing that policy in conjunction with the other and the
So bottom line is, my recommendation is to police would be not to move forward with the second reading.
My recommendation is that the commingling of the two not move forward, and that a policy is brought forward to city council before the next council.
So we have to change.
I would actually remove that.
Yeah. So then I move to table. Have somebody do a motion to
I
table.
motion to table that with the caveat that prior to next month's council meeting, that a policy is brought forward, presented to city council, that we assess that for proper.
This point second. So
For 2 months to work on it, we have some other things on.
well, we'll talk. So I mean, right now there's a motion to table and a second, so there's no more discussion. So just I need to call for the vote. All those in favor? Then that I believe it's 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you both for that. Right? Pardon me. Chase did. Chase. So it was moved by James, seconded by Chase.
Thank you.
Next is consider and take action on ordinance 2024-01-08-A, amending the Parks and Recreation Committee, second and final reading. This is a second reading. This is pretty straightforward. It's really, to me, housekeeping. Is there any questions or anything along that line? Because I'd like to move this along and call for the vote.
Mayor, I would like to motion this new ordinance 2024-0108A for and then the Parks and Recreation.
Do I hear a second? Second by Chase. Any other comments? Any other questions? Then I call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. This one here too, consider and take action on the ordinance 2024-01-08-B establishing the Animal Shelter Compliance Advisory Committee. This is the second and final reading, and if you remember, this is state prescription. Any further questions here? This should be, again, housekeeping.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the ordinance to 2024-01-08B, establishing the Animal Shelter Compliance Advisory Committee as stipulated by the state of Texas.
Do a second by Chase. Oh, he beat you. Yep. Any further questions or comments? Then I call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Next one is consider and take action on the ordinance of 2024-01-08-C, creating a special events committee. Second and final reading. Again, this should be housekeeping. Any other?
Yeah, last time we talked about having 8 to 12 members, which is in the current ordinance for the special events committee.
I believe that's.
I think that's right.
That's correct.
So this says consist of 12 members.
So that
this language
modification.
hasn't been updated.
You consider that still something we can
That's
do?
all right.
Because it's in the minutes. That was the intent.
Go ahead.
So it was an oversight. So
Okay.
as long, so you would make a motion. I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I motion, I don't want to complicate you, Lucy, since you're on the special events training, so sorry, I'd like to make a motion that we approve your recommendation to amendment of that ordinance, which was presented, which is the 2024-01-08 creating a special events committee as amended for Councilman Summer.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
12 members.
Well,
To specify 8 to 12 members.
yeah, per the first reading
Correct.
modification. All right. Moved by James, seconded by Chase, and probably thirded by Lucy.
Sorry.
Any other questions or comments? Then I call for the vote. All those in favor, 7-0. And just for the citizens, one of the things that was very much a effort here was to standardize the kind of the rules of each of the committees. There's a number of them that had different rules, different stuff, and we wanted to make it so that it is consistent, so that it takes out any kind of interpretation. And I appreciate, Greg and Greg for putting that together. And there were just some really big whoppers of mistakes from the past that got fixed. So I appreciate that. That's what we just did right there. The next item is discussion and action regarding the location of the Chris Reed plaque. And I'll take that one. It's really Paula and I had a great final meeting with Paula, myself, Paul Lopez, and the Reed family, represented by Alexis Reed. We have the design. I think everyone already knows we are geared for the flower pot, flower basin, or whatever that's directly mirrored to the officers memorial, instead of being on the left where we've recognized Kayla there. It's on the right, so it's on the exact other side of the water feature that's there. And this is, I think people are going to be really pleased with this. Is the family had asked for a couple of things, and we're going to clean up the trees and take out the rose bushes that they were there. The garden club, and I really thank the garden club for coming up with yellow, blue, and I guess his son wanted purple. So you're going to have all three of those that are there. And in addition, we're going to tile the inner portion of it to do three things. First and foremost, the tile is going to be in Notre Dame colors. He was a graduate of Notre Dame. And just like on a clock, you have 12 and 6 and 9 and 3. At the 12 and 6 location, we're going to get a tile of the Fighting Irish Leprechaun. So that'll be there. And at 3 and 9, there will be the 82nd Airborne tile to is service there. So the family is tickled pink. They didn't feel like they were really involved with the placement of it down there, or and some of the discussions even after that. They feel very, very involved, and they're going to work with the city. Paul knows that we are going to also do a street eats. We're trying to see if we can do it by April 18th, so that we would actually formally christen the location at a street. So that is the plan. I hope people here are pleased with that outcome. I certainly would like a motion to move forward to commit us on that.
I would like to make a motion, and take action regarding the approval of location of the Chris Street plaque as stated by the family and the accommodations of the city.
Yep. Second by Chase. Any further comments? Any other questions?
Do we know when it'll begin construction?
We're currently looking for the tile, so we can get with the tile work. So we don't know if we're gonna have 2-inch tiles or 4-inch tiles. We're trying to get the tiles now.
That's particularly the
The
decorative
82nd
one.
and
Yeah.
and then the Fighting Irish. And
That's
then we'll match it with that. The contractor was on the tile work and speaking with the public works guy. You know, Chris did a lot for us, do all the lighting and do some of the work. So.
Yeah. It's going to be lit up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a minimum of 3 feet, which if you look at the size of the plaque, it'll basically be very close to the height of the fallen officer. So it'll mirror image each other, I believe, very well.
So is this the same plaque that was at the top?
It is. It's the exact same plaque.
Okay.
You'll-
And
you'll-
April 18th is the goal? April 18th is the
It's
goal?
for the street eats to commission it. Correct. And it'll have a new pole.
Yes.
The new pole.
Paul, just a heads up, if you need any assistance with the 82nd Airborne, let me know.
Okay.
I have several friends and colleagues that were 82nd, so happy to really end up needing to get some.
So I have a motion by James, second by Chase. Any further questions? Any other comments?
I'm happy that we got to amicable end to this.
Both the Reed and the Barrett family are extremely happy. So I'm really pleased how this has ended up. Then I call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. The next is number 9.6, the discussion and potential action on naming of the dog park in David Braun Park. This was tabled last time in order to be able to make sure we finalize the things on Chris Reed. The name of the park that has been nominated by the Parks and Recreation Committee is Apollo Park, in recognition of the Apollo program with NASA. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
So just a little reminder, it's not just in coordination with the Apollo program, but the fact that we had who were residents of Nassau Bay during the Apollo program that lived here. That was one of the reasons why we picked it. We haven't ever honored anything here around the astronauts or named anything for the astronauts here. So I'd really like to make history today and have you guys go ahead and approve this. That's all I'm saying.
Michelle, just quickly, are you
Yes, we've got like the logo. We're going to incorporate the Moon Tree logo, but have a dog in there. And then also, do the QR code where we can talk about history. Last time I presented to you guys photographs of the astronauts in Nassau Bay with their dogs, which I thought would be a great story that, people could look at in our neighborhood for that space heritage. Anything else?
Any other questions?
No, I'm just happy that we've got a concrete plan for the Chris Reed Park now, and things are actually, we're curating special tiles, so clearly we're making progress on that, so.
Agreed. Then I'd ask for a motion.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the name of the dog park and the dog park in accordance with the Parks Committee's recommendation as a polygon.
Do I hear a second? Second by Ashley. Any further comments? Any other questions? Then I call for the vote. All those in favor? I believe is 7-0. And I'm moving fast because I want to get to Coal Valley Partners here. Discussion and possible action on the flock system. Just so everyone knows, the flock system is the tool that you can explain it better than I can, Chief. You might give a people.
Yeah, so the flock security system is just an automatic license plate reader camera system that we have deployed right now. We have 13 cameras that are at the entrances along NASA Road 1 coming into the city. Just real quickly before I get into the update on the request from Councilman that putting additional cameras in. Just to give you an idea, we do have our flock transparency portal went live on January 31st. I think Council had one of the Friday reports from all of them. It's available on the police department's website. If you go to the police department with the blue vertical banner, and right about the 5th item down is the flock. You can click on that, it'll take you to the transparency portal. It gives you just some basic information about number of cars and things that come through there, what the flock system will do, what it won't do. It has a link to our ALPR policy for the police department license plate reader program and how the license plate readers are used and not used. Give you an idea, between January 14th and February 12th, there were 372,293 individual plate reads. Now, that's not that. That's
Say
not
that number again, please.
72,000 plate reads.
Yeah.
That translates down to a little over 83,000 vehicles in a month that have come through those cameras, individual license plates. So some of the, some
20,000 a week.
Yes. Yeah. So just real quick, the hits that we had for the last since the beginning of the month, there have been 11 hits. 4 of those are individual. 4 of those were 4 individual LPs. There were 5 sex offenders, which were not individuals. 1 sex offender that's repetitive that has come through the cameras on a number of times. 6 protective orders. And those are every day. So those are the hits that we've had protective orders. We're not ours. Sex offenders not ours. It's just somebody who's out doing their business and their car is registered as in the system.
Can you explain what you mean by 6 protective orders? Like these are emergency protective orders and then?
No, we just know that they're protective orders, but they're not ours. They're not protected in the protective order, so they're coming up as a hit, but they're not related to any of our cases in now.
Okay.
Yes. So the flock system, we talked about adding additional cameras to kind of prevent anybody from coming in. Working with flock and looking at all the entrances coming off, whether they're private or public. Their recommendation as of right now is an additional 39 total cameras proposed for a deployment plan. This includes 33 cameras that are on private property, and 6 of those are along TxDOT property, which is NASA Road 1. Because the Councilman now can talk about having some coverage on NASA Road 1. Or some type of formal agreement for permission to install, whether it's with TxDOT on NASA Road 1 or it's private property owners. And we haven't even got to that step yet. So I think some of these cameras we can go back and look at, and we can maybe work with Flock and reduce that number. Because looking at the cost, and they did not give us, they have not approved a deployment plan, but looking at the cost that we have from last year with the initial deployment of 13 cameras and then the annual maintenance, the initial cost for cameras last year was $3,842 per camera. And that includes the first year maintenance. If we have 39 cameras, we're looking at $149,000 additional, just to install 39 cameras. The recurring cost is $3,192 cameras for recurring maintenance for the 39 cameras. This works out to about $124,000. If you add that into the $41,500 that we have for the 13 cameras, we're looking at a recurring cost of $166,000 a year. So I think we need to go back. I need to work with Flock. We need to look at, they didn't give me I asked for a little bit more detail on the cameras. So it wasn't until about the middle of last week that I got that from them, where I could see exactly which camera was on what property. And I explained, having a meeting with Paul, and Councilman Abbey, I suspect that we're probably not gonna be able to get a private property agreement with every one of those private properties, that are up along.
What I'd like to see, Chief, is that, you know, my understanding, and it may have been a wrong understanding, was that the 13 pretty much created like 90% coverage of the city. And now we're going from 13 for the last 10% is 13 to 39. I'd like to propose a workshop because I'd like to really understand that. That just doesn't, the math doesn't sound right, but I'm not saying it is or isn't. I just would like to really sit down and go over that with a workshop.
Yeah, and I'd like to work with Flock before we get to that.
Correct. I figured that.
The last council meeting, it was discussion about not being able to come through any private driveways, say, coming through McDonald's driveway or Star Stop, and then coming out a back driveway onto the city. So that's why we covered every driveway that there is. But I think we can probably work with Flock and look at, we may not cover everything up in the front business corridor.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's got to be
coming off of those properties onto, let's say, Space Park or Nassau Bay Drive or.
I haven't seen the whole thing, but that surprised. I heard that number and it surprised me.
Progress, just wanted to update you
that works.
I'm not satisfied with this first proposal.
Okay.
Just for finance purposes.
Is there some kind of standard contract that they'll propose?
I'm sorry?
Is there a standard contract that they'll propose or have a?
For the private property?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we see that ahead of time?
Yeah, I can get that to you. It's a one-page agreement. It's actually between private property owner and Flock.
It'd be nice to know what it is.
Sure, I can get that, and I can share with council.
Any other comments?
Yeah, just a quick comment on this. So when we sat down, one of the things that in all we discussed was the easements that the city has in relationship to what you can and cannot do on and between Nassau One. What is our footprint that we have the ability to do placement in along that route of Nassau One. I'd like to see us look and develop or have the mapping of that, of what easements are ours that we can go into and look at, and then accommodate those that maybe we want to have it in without having to do that.
Yeah, I don't think agreements with TxDOT is going to be an issue. I don't know all the details, but I know when Webster and Lee City and all implemented theirs first year, they were not allowed to move along state highways and stuff, and they do have them on state highways now, so there's some precedent set for that. I don't think that'll be an issue. It's the private property.
No, that's what I mean. So even on private property, there's an easement that the city has within that. That's what I'm talking about.
It's location according to Fox. And I'm sorry, is where the cameras have to be for the angle of the vision of the cameras. And so it may not work for us there, but it's still a work in progress. Just one.
Did they provide a mapping of what they were?
They did.
If I can share, that'd be great.
Okay. I can do that.
Is there any opportunity for the private entity to help us with some of the costs? I mean, we're certainly protecting Methodists and their issues.
I mean, I know Methodist has a plan in place. They've already got Flock on a couple of their own campuses, not here in Nassau Bay, but I think up in Katy, in two of theirs. And I know that's something that they're developing, and I hope I'm not speaking out for Methodist, but I know in discussions with their security division that they're going to be rolling out to all of their campuses. So at some point they will have that on there, and but those will be their cameras. So they already have that in, like Methodist does.
Right.
But the other businesses, I mean,
we should
try.
Yeah, we should try to, because it makes no sense to have multiple owners.
I would suspect that some of the more national corporations, I feel like we may get some pushback from them about having cameras and spying on their customers, just because of what I've seen across the country. So I think we probably need to look at what we can do in our easements rather than working with, on their property.
Just a comment. I think to go back to the crime stats is that we did have a break in entry into a national establishment that we did, or we are in discussion with what camera for that breaking and entry on that. For that, the breaking and entry where they on National One, where they went in and they And my understanding for the report was that we've got cameras, that they have cameras that they have in the establishment, and we're in negotiations to get those, so.
Part of the investigation, yes.
Yeah, so my comment to the, I guess, the challenge is that with the current climate of what's going on and current deaths that are happening, the majority of these establishments, I would imagine, would want to see security level that is mentioned that they're establishing their businesses.
Some of them, I imagine some of them will.
But I think this is something we can discuss during the workshop.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay, I'll work with them, but I just want to let you know there's a progress. We are working with them.
So thank you.
Any action? So I'm just going to move on with the agenda. And I have to apologize to Chris Nichols when I knew of the hard back end for St. Thomas, but I wasn't being a very good host that you had to come and listen to all our old business before we get to your new business. And I know you're aware of the situation. I'm going to kind of intervene here a little bit on the public hearing for 10-1 and also new business 11-1 together. And like I said, Chris, the legal counsel for Coal Valley Partners, which is the developer looking at developing the currently vacant Luby's property to potentially a Chipotle and Panda Express restaurants. There's a legal issue here, and I'm just going to get on the table and just name it and claim it. The way in which the resolution and the language used for the specific thank you for the language specifies that we're evaluating whether or not to give a specific use for a specific type of restaurant. That's way outside the authority of this council. We do not have that authority. Our authority is only on whether there's a drive-through or not. And their legal counsel agrees with us, been very cooperative, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to ask for two things here. I'm going to ask for a motion to table 10-1 and 11-1, and I also would like to offer some time to Chris Nichols if he wants to express anything here that we offer him, because we let them know this so that they didn't have a group here because we didn't want them to spend money unnecessarily. And he did come in that. Are you out of the Portland office? Or you're so that makes me feel better. So, but in any event, I want to do those two things for them.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we table 10-1 and 11-1. I would like to make a comment on that. With that tabling is that with the review of it, that it was a drive-through, and in regards to the planning, I did not see any traffic assessment in relationship to what was proposed to the layout or design. So I would appreciate a review of that traffic assessment, because if I'm understanding what was designed and put out there, two houses, two separate drive-throughs. So, and I don't know if that was presented. Okay, thank you. That wasn't
And I hope that the planning commission meeting is going to be expedited.
It is. It is.
The scope of this needs to go back to the planning commission, it's not just council, but also goes to the planning commission.
It was wrong from the get-go.
It would go back for that whole process before us.
Yep.
It has to be done that way. And they have to mirror each other.
So I have a motion to table. Do I hear a second? Second by Sarah. Well, I guess there's no further discussion. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Someone please come on up.
I would like to apologize profusely.
Well, my name is Chris Nichols. I'm with Wilson Crimson Court in Houston. As the mayor said, I represent Coal Valley here with Michelle C tonight. I get it. And these things happen, and I've worked on many different deals with your council, Mr. Gray. we wanted to make sure that there wasn't an empty seat tonight when you had this agenda item. So Cole Valley is very excited about the project. They're disappointed that, they're being delayed again, but we would really appreciate, whatever council can do to expedite us to the next meeting. We've got some delivery commitments on the project by the end of the year, and so we are ready to go. And so as soon as we can get through the process, hopefully successfully, we are looking forward to working with the city of Nashville Bank.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on to 11.2. What's that? Oh, excuse me. I'm sure I've got it. There's been a motion to table in a second, and we have to call for the vote. I thought we did. We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. It was 7-0.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
Yep.
I motion. Sarah.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Onward. So I'm moving on to 11.2, which is consider and take action on the ordinance 2024-02-12-B, establishing the criteria for the creation, establishment, or appointment of citizens to city boards, commissions, and committees, which are deemed necessary to carry out the functions and obligations of the city. This is basically one of the things that again we're trying to look at standardization. That rather than having rules, decided to pull out the rules into a separate one, so that if we ever make a modification to one, it goes across the board versus any single individual one. So we protect. It's kind of like controlled documentation rules for quote rules of the game. And I think this has been a good job. I appreciate the two counselors, Chase Waterwall or Councilman Waterwall and Councilwoman Horton. Sorry. I usually go by first name. That's why I was like stumbled there for a little bit. But in any event, this is, I think, good work with Greg and Greg, and I would I'd appreciate a motion so we can talk about
Couple of adjustments before you take the motion, maybe if you don't mind. You have 5 items that are listed as exceptions, and there really are 2 others that should be added to that. Number 6 is the Board of Adjustment, and number 7 is the Animal Shelter Compliance Committee. Those 7 instead of the 5 that are listed on the first page.
Fair enough.
Secondly, in talking to Sarah Harden ahead of time, I think in an effort to deal with the fact that there might be a current chairman of a commission that before this action gets taken, an effort to deal with that may have added more confusion than we need. I think probably be best to just delete that kind of language under chairperson on the second page, where it starts.
At this time.
At this time, let's see, yeah. At this time, in some instances, that should come out, that whole sentence. The next sentence, that person's term as chairman and the voting member is underway, then you may continue. I think that should come out. Therefore, the future chairperson shall be selected as called for herein would come out. And then the last sentence would be, this ordinance shall be prospective in its application for any term of any member or any chairperson, period. Not as stated herein.
So my concern was we didn't really deal with any, we basically said this is not retroactive. This is for future chairperson appointments. But we're not dealing with any current
one.
chairpersons. And so what you're dealing with is like, until there's a turnover on a chairperson, then I don't see when their term would end.
Yeah, it's confusing. I think the best thing to do is take it out. We don't have to deal with the problem.
Does that mean that means the people who are currently one would have immediate applicability? Because
No.
How does the language?
Well, the way it's worded now, it's an attempt to deal with the fact of making an exception for them, but you can't make it ex post facto or back in the past. I think it's just too much too soon. I think we take that out and not worry about it.
So tell me, I've now found the specific.
It starts at the first sentence starts at in the middle of the page there, and we're under the section chairperson. You see this at this
on the
time,
right side of the middle.
at this time in some instances.
Oh, I see it. Yep.
That comes out. The next sentence comes out. the third thereafter sentence comes out, otherwise, the word otherwise comes out, and a new capitalized this, and it'll say this ordinance shall be prospective in its application for any term of any member or of any chairperson, period.
What would be the effective, restriction by taking that out that would do?
It doesn't take, it eliminates confusion, we don't need it, and I think it was an effort to do something that we probably don't need to do.
Yeah, there's a little more confusion because on the paragraph on the members, it says, let's see, no member shall be eligible, and in the paragraph on the members, no member shall be eligible for reappointment or reelection after the duration of his or her fourth consecutive term.
Right.
But then, in the chairperson column, we say, the term of any chairperson of any board, committee, or commission will be 2 calendar years, and outgoing chairperson after completion of a 2-year term shall be ineligible for reappointment or reelection.
I think we anticipated the problem we don't really need to have.
People, I guess we're treating them
So I
differently.
see that. What other modification are you looking to make?
That's it.
That's it. That's
Just that one for the chairperson,
just eliminate.
or the one in the
The language that I suggested come out should come out.
I'm okay with that language coming out. As I read it, it's okay.
I
Yeah.
think it's better, and then you add the 2 committees to the 5 that are listed on the first page, it'll be actually 7 now.
Yep.
Those are the 2 changes for second reading. Because this is the first reading.
This is the first.
Right, sorry, but in relation to the, general shelter, committee that is required by the state of Texas, those positions have stated criteria from the state of Texas that is required.
Yes, that's why they're accepted.
That's why they're accepted. That's why they're exempted.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, correct. No, I'm okay with that change.
Okay.
Is it?
I recommend those two.
Do I hear a motion considering that though?
I motion.
Yeah,
You're
I
busy.
have
man.
I have discussion.
You have a discussion, so
Yes, I want people to understand what this actually is. So we're saying that any person on a committee is limited to 4 terms.
Mhm.
So after 8 years, you're no longer on a committee. It says that the chairperson only has 1 term as the chair, and then someone else has to take over for the chair of that committee, which these are both very different than how we've operated.
Mhm.
And then also there will be required to have a secretary, which we haven't discussed
For
here.
minutes. For minutes. Correct.
Which I don't know if that's how all the committees have operated, but just to point out what this actually is.
Right,
What
there's
the changes are.
there's 2 leadership positions basically where there's a chairperson and a secretary and they can't be the same individual.
And this doesn't say that there's any limit on being a secretary.
No,
Is that,
that's okay.
Do
okay.
you think they should have one?
No,
I don't think so.
I'll consider any answer.
No, I don't think you should limit that.
Okay. I just want to make sure everyone knows
Yeah.
what exactly is being proposed here since it's not in front of everybody.
And just to clarify on that point, with the requirements in the state that those are mandated, that we don't have control over.
I still do, Mr. Greg, I'm still a little confused, right? I mean, maybe y'all can remind me, because we did talk about this, but where is it in here that the current chairpersons that are, like, when does their term start and end? I guess that's where I'm wondering.
Well, it says it's prospective in nature, and so you'll be limited to 2 terms. An argument would be there that somebody who's currently in a position is not covered by it. That's what I was trying to deal with.
That's what I thought we said
But-
was grandfather.
It would be a grandfather, but then it wouldn't just be perpetually grandfathered, it would just be for this time since they're in an unusual position. I think it's overkill. I think it's good to do.
So what I remember the rules of the game would be is that if their term was, these are staggered, that if there was a upping where they had 2 years from, here, that they would, then that would be their term. If they only had 1, they would get the end of that where they'd have another 2 years.
Yeah, worst case.
Worst case.
That's right. But not perpetual like you were worried about.
Not perpetual.
Well, we just reappointed a bunch of people, because,
So whatever that would be
Prior to passing this ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
That's why I did it, and then I wish I hadn't done it.
Yeah, just thinking about this, like the infrastructure committee. So you want people to have 8 years and be done and not have
Correct.
continuity of history.
Worst case
Correct.
is they'll have
Okay.
8 years
So
plus
if-
whatever confusion is created by the fact that they're currently in a spot that will have to expire.
Correct.
There might be one or two people that are sort of an exception to this, but it isn't worth building out all the language to, in my.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd
this
say
is,
take it out.
this basically, just put it simply is, perpetual chairman and perpetual, membership is going to change.
And I think it passes that, so I think we'll do it.
Okay.
No, I understand that. I'm just trying to think of what all the implications are.
This is only the
That's-
first reading
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
This is to get it forward and out there so people can hear it.
To Councilman Summers' point, I think in relation to those, that committee, particularly the Sunshine Committee, that does have some longevity in regards to their knowledge. If there is inside that if you will, kind of an ex officio role that we could have where there's some kind of people that have been.
So let me just say, this does not eliminate a non-voting member participation.
Exactly.
Just like we have on special
Right.
events, just like you have on parks and recreation, things along that line, you would have that, but this would be for the people who are appointed as voting members. Correct. Again, this is just the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
reading. We do not have to vote on this. This is just for public hearing and visibility as to the intent.
Is the membership role retroactive? Is that portion retroactive? I think because.
Nothing is retroactive.
I actually, if I remember what we said, and I believe what this reflects, is that we didn't want to, we just wanted to set this going forward, not make it retroactive going back.
Because I
So
don't
this
think it
is-
says anything about prospective and that portion of the. Anyways, you might want to look it up.
It's not retroactive though.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
I think they're okay.
And whose responsibility is it then to track membership and duration of membership and chairs? And so will that be on the city secretary?
That's one.
Okay.
City secretary.
It's a team effort.
Good.
Yeah, it would, that's the intent.
Okay.
In fact, I believe that's even laid out. Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other further questions? Any other comments? Okay, that's the first reading. Next is 11.3, consider and take action on the Parks and Recreation Committee appointment. Background here, it's a 12-member committee with 11. We already have 11 adults, so this is for the elevation of a minor, which I think is just fantastic to get actual minor input on the efficacy and the pleasurability of our arts and recreation. I believe there's only one minor, which is Jacob Ford.
Yes.
And I would like, and if there's any questions on that, but I would like to entertain a motion. Ashley,
I'd like to motion that we appoint Jacob Ford to the Parks and Recreation Committee as the junior minor member.
seconded by Chase. Any other questions? Any other comments? Then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes. Jacob. Just so you know, this was actually part of the original language when the Parks and Recreation Committee was initiated. When it's kind of gone through some trials and tribulations, and we thought it was great. And we know you've had some very good, accurate input on our current playground equipment. So I think this is great that you're taking this on. So thank you. 11.4, which is consider and take action on the Animal Shelter Compliance Committee appointments. I'm gonna really ask for a table. This is not, we just created this. This has not been published on the website or in the Compass Rose.
I think it was,
I asked the question, let me just finish. Yeah, what's your,
I think it was in the Compass Rose, but
but it hasn't been posted on the website?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, what we said is we wanted to have vacant positions published both on the West Rose, just to be able to get it out there for transparency purposes. And this has just been committed. I'd like to get that out there just so we get as many applications as we can, but I need a motion.
Well, I need some point of clarity.
Sure.
Okay. What the council needs to know is that the state department consistency of that commission or board is stipulated by the state, which requires a vet, someone known to the area of zoonotic diseases, and other things requirements inside of that. So one of the things that was done previously, and Paul might correct me if I'm wrong, speaking with Troy, is that the person who's in charge of the shelter, one. Next one is the vet that is assigned to that. The other person that has that knowledge of the zoonotic diseases and that. And I believe there's one or two others, but those criteria are actually stipulated by the state.
Yes.
And those need to be, if it's posted, those stipulations need to be put out there so that people understand what our requirement is by the state of Texas in relation to the position.
Fair enough.
They're applying for.
Fair enough. And I also believe our current vet is paid, right?
Yeah.
That's there. I think Lucy, you're the one who made the suggestion we can find somebody who's a citizen in the city that could volunteer money.
Yeah.
So as long as they're a vet in the city.
Yeah, correct.
Yes, a licensed veterinarian.
I motion to table.
Do I hear a second? Seconded by Chase. Any other questions? Oh, I can't. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Oh, here's the fun one. 11.5, discussion and action to authorize the interim city manager to enter into a contract for the election voting machine equipment.
Yes,
Paul?
yes. So,
Give a little background first.
little background on this was we were notified on January the, is that 9th? And we were notified that Harris County wasn't going to be helping us, assisting us with the local elections and nor voting machines. So staff went to scrambling and been working very hard on this. And we come up with different options. It's in your packet, about 15 pages from the back. And so we came with 3 different options. We're looking to have 4, but we couldn't get the numbers in time for this meeting. So basic, in a nutshell, option 1 is the Cadillac package. Historically, I've heard we've had 4 machines. This is only 3 machines, regulators that count, and then you have to have an ADA compliant machine by law. And so we spoke with a consultant that we would like to bring on board that would help us with this. We are not experienced in this. Election workers, if we can get some to volunteer, that'd be great. But the current rate is about $20 an hour locally. The Kemah, Seabrook, Lacey's reached out. She's with 2 groups, city secretary groups, and so she's been working with them. They've been trying to get different information, helping out each other. Everyone's kind of just in a panic as we. So with that package, we're looking at $54,275. That is the option 1. That's the best package.
These are for the digital machines that we.
Yes, this
Correct.
is what everyone's used to. This is what's currently out there. This also, it would be less work on staff, and it's less machines, but it'd be less work on staff. So $54,275 for option 1. Option 2, only thing it's doing is taking away a voting machine, so it's going down to 2 machines. And it decreases that number by 5,400 to 48,875. So that's really not a big jump. We were thinking it was going to be in the range of 10,000, 15, but it's only $5,400 from option 1 to option 2. The only downfall of that is it'd be 2 voting machines, so the residents would have to wait just a little bit longer. Then option 3 is a 1 voting machine, 2 tabulators, and then the ADA. And then this is kind of like the paper ballot. Have a printer that prints everything out. We can save a little money. Like I said, if this all can change, if we can get some volunteers to help us, and that only decreases by $3,900. So that's $44,975. Our budget for this that we budget every year historically has been $30,000. And so, you know, we can, we're waiting for some paper ballot, the old school, and Lacey's reached out to her 2 groups, and she hadn't got a good response yet. I think digital, and they're scrambling like we are. And one of the things that we would like to secure would be the consultant. She's local, Friendswood, very well known, former city secretary. We'd like to at least get that going. And to talk to, we have the quotes in here. They said that everyone is reaching out to them. So we're kind of worried that if we don't secure something pretty soon, that maybe, you know, we will be scrambling. So, you know, we could recommend option 2 at $48,875.
That's still digital.
That's still
It's
digital.
buying these machines.
It's buying the machines.
Yeah.
This is the
So let me,
latest technology.
and you don't have the true paper option on here, right?
No.
Yeah.
Option 3 is just printing out.
So, but if you don't mind,
Yes,
I'd like to chime in here a little bit. I'm really disappointed with Harris County. I believe that there's ulterior motives here. These options here are for kind of like permanent options. We have to buy this equipment. And to me, I think there's a number from at least my network that says there's a lot of people that want to challenge this decision that Harris County is making. And to me, I'd like to see us do what minimum dollar cost, minimum commitment in order to just get us by this election, because I don't think this should stand. And if we're going to do something permanent, I know even these are less than what we do. I'd rather we budget it properly, and if we lose out on it, then at least we have a proper means by which to acquire these machines. So me personally, I would really like to emphasize what we do as temporary as possible, and rely on volunteers that I know we've done in the past. I just don't want to get, and I'm going to say it this way, schnookered if we make a commitment for 5 years for capital when this may get reversed. And I really don't believe that we should support moving in this direction. I'm even fearful that they're trying to move things where they'll get support in November for elections like this, so that we move local elections to November, which I'm horrendously against. I'm very much against that. So that's at least where I stand.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, I after finding out about this, and I discussed this with both Lacey and Paul, being our member of the Easton and Galveston Association of Councils, I reached out to a couple of the other almost cities that are of the same size as us in relationship to the same situation. They've fallen into the same situation as us this even year, Harris County not providing with that. And particularly this is Jersey Village, about the same size. This is about the same size as us. And what they, and the meeting I had with them and with their mayor, they reached out to their city secretary, it was an event, and what they got back was that they are leasing one machine that's required by the state for the, I believe it's for the handicapped and elderly, I think, for the early voting and mail-in ballots, specifically as the state stipulates, but they're doing hand ballot.
Yeah.
Is what they're doing.
That's what I think a lot of
I
people
want
do.
to, I want to put that out there that what Paul is putting on offer, you know, if other jurisdictions are not buying, they were lucky enough to lease a piece of kit. I don't think we're going to be lucky enough at this point in time to be able to find someone that will lease us a voting.
I don't either. So, I mean, my view here, if I just cut to the chase, I agree with Paul about the consultant because I really want this to go well. And if there needs to be a commitment to do that, to enable you to do that, I support that. What I don't want to do though is I don't want to buy a lot of equipment until we really have time to evaluate what we want to do. I want to do it as minimum as possible, and whether it's a hand ballot or paper or whatever, I want to do what minimum, and the consultant can help us with.
Mr. Mayor, just also with that, I think this is important for council to know. It's not just the equipment and, Lacey, if you want to chime in or Paul, it's also the programming that's required for that, for the machine itself. So it's having to be able to go in, program the machine, set it up for the vote, and then operate it as it should. You know, the challenge is even if with one machine that's there, if there's a hiccup, we've got to stop.
Yeah.
So the price in front of you is, the programming included in it?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is important for everybody, just for clarity's
Yes.
sake, that they understand what this pricing is that's been put forward by, you know, I think it's just important to them.
Don't you want to pass this though and give him the authority if he needs it for emergency purposes? Bring this to the table?
I don't mind doing that, but I would want to narrow that to not doing the digital thing where we have to buy these equipment. I would rather have it be on the paper side, whether it's a hand or whatever, just to be able to mitigate a number of these costs. Every time we've looked at this before, you know, for a short term, doing the paper is way cheaper. If you're going to invest in equipment, it'll be cheaper in the long term. Well, I don't think the long term has been decided, so I really don't want to commit to putting capital like that. And I just think this is wrong.
When do we have to know by? What's the deadline?
I mean, soon as possible. I mean, we're just afraid that somebody may pick up the consultant. And then
I think we should move forward with the consultant immediately. I think
For sure.
we should retain them, and they should be our consultant. And we should look and say, hey, we're looking at trying, again, me personally, I'm driving, but I'm just one. I believe that we should give them the direction that we're trying to do the minimal that suffices with capital investment so that we can get through this election and then deal with it more forcefully with Harris County throughout the year, and then plan more appropriately. Because I don't believe just 2 or 3 machines. We usually have 4 to 6, if I remember. So, and our citizens. So, any other comments?
I just had a quick question regarding the volunteers. I know we've had volunteers in the past, but will they go through a proper training, election training, and credentials, and applications, and all that? So.
It's required.
Okay.
Yes, it's required.
And this authorization for, this would just be for you to enter into a contract. Obviously, you know what our preference is in the minimal requirements essentially. But this would just give you that authority to go into a contract with somebody that would be able to provide a machine or whatever we're going to go with.
Yeah, so if we go into contract with the consultant, they'll be able to hit the ground and running and probably can get more information and see, you know, what's out there for that. We don't really know what we're getting into. We don't need to know if, you know, it's going to take more staff time or volunteer hours on the paper. So.
We used to run them all the time. Just got to make sure you empty out the trash.
I would like to make a motion to approve this agreement with the election consultant for option 3.
Not option,
with
not
the
option
exception-
3.
With the except, I'm saying, because there's not another option.
Yeah, option to if you don't mind the things here in a minute, would be to say to hire the consultant and with the preference to a paper ballot, be it a hand or a punch or something along that.
And follow his or her direction to acquire whatever type of voting equipment is needed.
To be consistent with that.
That's right.
I don't want anything.
But I wouldn't leave it just only the consulting services. I think I'd give
No, I
authority to
agree.
go ahead and do whatever that consultant recommends
I-
as to voting equipment, even if it's not.
For a
voting
paper
machine
system,
equipment.
for a paper
Well,
system.
voting equipment could be paper, right, or machine.
I don't want to.
As
They're way
authorized
more
by the
expensive.
state of Texas,
Pardon me?
at a minimum level authorized by the state of Texas.
That's right. I'd actually like to say paper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the state of Texas says paper great, then great. If they say no, you need a tabulator, then we're stuck.
So, okay.
I just have a
So what's
question.
the motion?
Say it again.
Right, I motion that we approve the city manager to move forward with the election consultant as recommended, and that Bryce and the election consultant to advise the city on what the minimum level requirement as of the state of Texas stipulates for elections for this upcoming election cycle.
That's only coming back and telling us what they said. and
Yeah,
not-
I want
not
to give a
making
little bit
decisions.
more.
You need
I
to
would
get
give-
some authority.
That's what I'm saying is if they, if we do the paper side, I think we should give them the go ahead to do it. Particularly if it's less than the $45,000.
If that's, yeah, if that's what's recommended by the consultant and at the level required by the state of Texas, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Do we have a cost for the consultant, and will it be under the budgeted amount?
Yes, 9,375.
So that
Yes,
we,
we have this
and it's,
and it's that.
and we expect it to be under 100 for him.
Yes, that's what we're projecting.
Yes.
So what authority? Okay.
So we don't need that in the motion.
Well, no, he
Cost.
needs that to retain that consultant. And I think we should do that. That's, you need that.
Retain the consultant and follow their recommendation at the same time.
No, because I'm not so sure it's long-term versus short-term. I don't want that, I really want to fight Harris County on that.
So what about the funds for the election workers? That's one thing that.
So that's a fair comment. I mean, if we want to modify it to have the consultant and the election workers, I mean, I would have thought that would have been already under the budget.
I move forward that we amend that motion
Yeah.
to include that for the city manager to be able to move forward.
I mean, I think you have a sense of council that we really don't want the digital machines, and we really want to go this route because it's less expensive. If for whatever reason the state says you can't use paper, which I'd be shocked, then that's something different. But
But we need to just do that as a timely manner.
well, but I believe it's as straightforward as the digital machines. The people still do it. There's people still doing handheld ones, and they're what I've done in my network with different mayors is that they are looking at doing what's minimal. They're not doing that because they think this is illegal, what was done.
And so far, what we wants to comment on this, because we've all been working as a group. The option 3 is to print paper on the print on a piece of paper that goes into the tabulator. Well, but what we're talking about maybe is going down a notch. I don't even know if they can do that. I mean,
That's what, so, sorry, point of clarity is that what I mentioned with Jersey Village is that they have one machine that they're utilizing for mail-in and early voting. And that's the only machine they're using. Everything else that they're doing is basically, I hate to say it, like in high school, you're voting for your student council.
So it's
And
paper ballot.
It really is the old paper ballot.
But you haven't authorized paper ballot.
But that's what I'd want. That's what I'd like to do. And if we need to do the election workers and the administrative, because that's meals and stuff like that.
So
I'm all okay. But
so by state law, we have to have one ADA.
That's the
Correct.
So that's
if.
Yeah, that's a good question.
If that's, if, this is what I'm saying, what I said with Jersey Village. They were able to lease one. I don't know if we'll be able to lease one.
Yes, I don't think
That's,
so.
that's the
So that,
challenge. in the
but your option 3 does that, but you also have, you know,
But aren't we making, I mean, we're hiring a consultant to tell us what we need, what we absolutely have to have.
Yes.
If it's ADA, so be it, but if you wanna have something that's less than that, for everybody else, it's not ADA, then you would be able to go with that. I think that that's what this is offering.
Right, so
You want this to be self to come back and get permission to then execute a
if it,
contract.
if it meets that criteria and that it's looking at doing, you know, not buying digital equipment, that would be long-term. I don't mind doing that, but that's not what I heard in some of the things here. It leaves open that at the end, we get in a pinch and then do that.
what, how about if, say we recommend option 3 and then we come back after we get a little bit more information, at least.
Authorize option 3 is subject to what?
Subject to the assessment by what is required by the minimum level of the state of Texas.
With the express knowledge that that the council wants to have paper ballots.
Add that to it.
Right? I don't want,
But you want something that'll work when it's done. When he finds out what it is, you don't want to have to call another meeting.
I don't think this is real science, guys. I really don't believe these things are that way. I think you're going to find it's very well oiled.
But you don't want to paint yourself in the corner.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to have the authority there. He needs to be able to act when he finds out what they recommend. As long as it meets what you want.
I'm okay with option 3 with the express things that it's constrained to be in a paper ballot.
As so amended for what we recently just discussed.
I'm okay.
So Paul, what I recommend, if it's okay, is that consultant might actually know somewhere we could lease one. That's helpful. So that step right there might be helpful. The secondary piece there, Lacey, I'll pass over the city secretary's contact details for Jersey Village, and they can maybe coordinate with that advisor also, or that consultant, in regards to what and how they're progressing that, because they're also doing it, I think, the lowest levels. Is that okay?
And real quick, am I leaving anything out? I know staff, we get emails probably during the middle of the night. I don't know if there's something that I may be leaving out or.
I open it up, guys.
Discussion.
You guys.
If we have to purchase the tabulators, we have to have 2 separate tabulators for early voting and then election day voting. And those are the 2 pieces of equipment that are in most demand right now. And the vendors are both telling us that they believe by this Friday the 16th, those tabulators will not be available. So if that's an option that we need to go for, we need to have that answered tonight so we can start moving forward before Friday.
Mr. Mayor, point of order if I can, I believe that the city manager, acting city manager has approved up to 75,000 purchase requirements. Also, he has discretion
For budgeted items.
for budget items.
For budget, not discretionary.
Yeah. Well, this would be an increase of that budgeted 30,000 to.
I mean, I believe the option 3 with the distinct, desire to do the paper suffices here. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
Distinct preference, right?
So if it's okay, what I'd like to recommend, Paul, with this is that once this is approved, then in short order, there's an email sent to the consultant that is approved and signed off on, and that the recommendation is, or if there is a way, we can lease if she knows that, and there's a response back that we move on it quickly to get that leased equipment in. If not, then we know where we stand and what we have to do.
But I'm with you, Chief, with the tabulators. I mean, those are going to be mail in. They're going to be stuff. It's going to be reading those ballots. Those tabulators are, if it's 2, which is required, then it's 2 that's required, right? And we should do that. It's but it's just the other portion that I want to make sure we do as minimum as possible.
I have a question, and I'm wondering if this would be helpful for the consultant too, which is that these mail-in ballots, where are they being produced? Are we producing those and mailing out to the residents?
I don't believe so.
Are we producing those ballots and mailing them out to the residents for early voting?
Yes, we will have to do all
Okay,
of
that,
that.
I want to make sure that.
They'll help make sure that we're on, the schedule with that, and that we have all of the materials and things like that that we're gonna need.
And then in addition to that, any of those active duty military that are posted overseas.
I'm sure that's part of the.
I just want to make sure for clarity's sake.
Okay.
Do we want to stipulate anything about using volunteers versus, that would be our first choice. And then secondly,
I believe we'll get volunteers.
I agree. But
I wouldn't put yourself in the corner.
I'm with you. I don't want to paint ourselves.
okay, so that wouldn't do that. And then, we'll be sure that we can, meet ADA requirements. I just want to be careful about
Correct.
that. And then how would this affect the joint partnership between the election for the,
CCISD has nothing to do with
Had-
it.
okay, nothing to do with that. So,
They have their own discretion in the room we get setting up,
okay, gotcha.
is
So,
what I understand.
okay, so that's great. Good. Okay, I'm clear then. Thank you.
Okay?
And just for your knowledge, tabulator's only, 5,995.
Yeah, they're the cheap ones. That's what I was gonna say. They're the cheap ones.
One thing also, just so in regards to all this product, I like Mid Lacy reaching out to CCISD to see if they would allow us to utilize their machines. Unfortunately, CCISD declined to allow us to utilize their machines due to programming issues, programming of their machines that they were.
So do we want to, I'd like to hear a motion that says that we recommend option number 3 with the distinct direction that we are wanting the lowest cost paper system if possible.
Mr. Mayor, I believe I motioned that earlier.
Just want to clarify.
And Chase seconded that.
That's second. So that is the motion on the table. It has been seconded. Anything else, counselors? City council people, counselors, any other comments?
No, I do think that this proposal, the quote page is very useful in understanding the breakdown of the costs.
Yep. Then I'm calling for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Thank you for helping us through that, guy. Here's the fun one.
Thank you.
Here's the fun one. Consider and take action to approve ordinance number 2024-02-1-12-A of the City Council of the City of Nassau year 2024 budget to recognize the 2024 certificate of obligations proceeds at 2.66% interest rate. In the water and sewer fund and the associated expenditures, cost of the issuance, southeast transmission line cash call number 5. Phase 2 of year 1 of the water distribution line. In addition, increase the fund balance for the proceeds that will carry over to fiscal year 2025 and 2026 for phase 2 of year 2 and 3 of the water distribution line project. First and only reading, and this is what, $3.8 million in total?
That's correct. So
Yep.
3.88 million, 75,000 is related to issuance costs, 1.49 million for the southeast transmission line cash call, and then the remaining amount will be for the water distribution line project, which will be over 3 years.
Yep.
So I'm requesting that you consider and take action on the fiscal year 2024 budget for the 2024 certificate of obligation.
Yep. Any questions for Jaime before we start?
My question is for Public Works. When do we begin?
So the timeline, we're doing the engineering construction. We're looking about going out to bid somewhere, I think June or July. So probably construction hit the ground right after the beginning of the fiscal year, probably October.
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024 budget to recognize the 2024 certificate of obligation proceeds for fund and the associated expenditures, cost of issuance, southeast transmission line cash call number 5, and phase 2 of year 1 of the water distribution line project. In addition, increase the fund balance for the proceeds that carry over to FY25 and FY26 for phase 2 of year 2 and year 3 of the water distribution line project, as detailed in attachment A.
A second.
Moved by Lucy, seconded by James. Any other questions before I call for the vote? I call for the vote. All those in favor? 7-0. Great work, Jaime. Great work. Yep, love it, as well as the staff. Another fun one, consider and take action to approve the EDC Sable Palm project reference under resolution number 2024-01-22, previously passed by the EDC on January 22nd. 2024 approves the Sable Palm project and the EDC expenditure of $80,000 plus administrative costs. The council approves the city advancement of the funds for the project to be recaptured by the city from EDC after the city approves the EDC project, and the EDC waits the required 60 days after the date of the publication, first of 2 readings. So, I don't know, Paul, do you want to do this
Yes.
one?
Yeah. So over the years, we've lost some sable palms, especially down Upper Bay. And so we have looked at the sable palms on Upper Bay. There's about 16 foot tall, and there's about 12 of them. And then so if you come down Upper Bay from Mass Road 1, it'd be roughly 12 sable palms there. A couple of them, you take a left on Space Park, and then I think 3 or 4 on the boardwalk, and those are the taller ones. Those are the 20 footers. And so this will replace all the empty area. We've removed palm trees that died for freezing or
some of these have been 15 years since they've been done. It's been quite a while. This actually just replaces what used to be. Folks, this brings us back to the original design of the landscaping and the palm trees. This is good work on Public Works to find it.
And we may have a cost savings here. We are the 3 quotes that came in were apart a lot, and so I'm looking at the warranty. I'm trying to negotiate a 2-year warranty for the price of 1 year, and then if they die, they get replaced. So I'm looking at the warranty and try to get a good deal on them. So if we go with the vendor that I am thinking of, that we'll probably have a significant cost savings in this project.
So can we talk about the timing of the ones on the boardwalk?
I would say probably within 2 months. There's a couple of the vendors I spoke with. We've got one that said we can get them within a couple of weeks, and then the other ones are trucking them out of California.
I'm a little bit concerned about advancing them along the boardwalk because we don't know the condition with the bulkhead.
So I'm getting a quote right now that's going to, so what happened was the stringers rusted, the dead men rusted, because there was old lines. And so we're getting a price for stainless steel tiebacks, the entire 1,000 feet, except for the 30 feet that we get replaced. So this would protect the bulkhead for any future storms, hurricanes, or anything like that.
So that work would be done prior to the palms going in?
It can be.
I'm worried though that the nursery says that you really need 6 months for these bulbs, for this tree to be in. So it's a balance of the two. And I actually think there's more of a risk that these will blow down if we're not careful and don't give them enough longevity to plant bulkhead. So
And I think
that's my thought right now.
And I think the palm trees would be protected only because that's all new vinyl sheeting along there. And so now we just tie back everything, reinforce it. So I think they'll be protected.
Okay.
And they're not as expensive as they
either. Yeah. We're not talking with jewels. We're talking.
Yeah. Okay.
The
So
good question.
There's no integrity issues then beyond the bulkhead that we're aware of.
They're spaced out pretty.
Yeah, they're spaced out pretty good. But I'm going to confirm with the bulkhead contractors and just say, hey, if you're going to get in and dig, because from what I understand, you got to dig back almost. I think the stringers are every 6 feet. So there's going to be some extensive excavation going on.
No question.
So, but I'll ask them that question.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions?
No, I'm agreeing with Councilman Summers on that. I think it's important based off what we saw with that. Just a one small flooding incident, that blow up right there, and all of you taking the initiative, the whole line of that, I think that's fantastic. You know, the concern is we did not have a hurricane season, and we will be, I guess, isolated.
It's a
Yeah,
race.
Yeah, we're looking to happen.
Hate to say it, but it's a race.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess the timing is gonna be everything with this.
Yeah, okay. Any further questions? Did I get a motion on this? Have I had a? Well, just the first two
Yeah.
readings, you're right. I agree.
Says action.
Yep, okay. Carry this over. We're getting there, guys. 11.8, this is a discussion and update on the reinvestment zone number 1 app. I believe this is the same thing. This has not been published on both of the website, so,
This has been on the website.
but not the Compass Rose.
Cheney, was this on the Compass Rose, the reinvestment zone? I can't remember if that one was or not, but I know for
I don't
sure
believe
it
it
was on the
has.
website.
It's not familiar to me, and I do the Compass Rose, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely.
I would
on
like,
the
I'd like
website.
to have a Compass Rose, so we do that, because I really want to hold to this standard that we want it published on both, because there are people in our community that get stuff by mail, and there's people in this community who get stuff by social media. And I think it's very important that we do both.
So we have a 90. applications for this? 'Cause we have-
No, my understanding is no.
No.
I think it was today or over the weekend, we did receive one from Brian Brown,
Okay,
but only the one.
I would, yeah, let's,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to motion that we table this until we.
second by Chase. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. I didn't know that Brian had submitted. Here's the best one. 11.10, consider and take action to hold regular council meeting for March on the third Monday of the month, which is March 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in recognition of the multitude of council people who have children and will be on spring break.
I make the motion, let's do it.
I will be out of the country on that day. I don't know. I'm gonna be traveling back this time.
Okay.
I just want to let you guys know I may be in transit.
Okay. You can
Closer
zoom.
than normal.
You can zoom
I'll
too.
be 2 minutes in.
Put on.
Instead of
Second, moved by Lucy, second by James. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Next, we go into executive session, 12.1, which is section 551.087 economic development negotiations, SB 1851. It is 7:27, 28. 9:28. I wish it was 7:28. We're still online, right?
Yes.
So guys, I'm pushing this along. We are coming out of executive session. We are now in open session and it is 10:28. I have a motion to adjourn by Chase or whoever. All in favor? We're adjourned.
And you're gonna let us know about Thursday.
Yes, yes, correct. It's right now on the books.
Mayor, I think
6-7.
Oh, what is this?
the order for the general election.
Okay, guys, I need everybody's signature. Why don't you guys
Yeah,
start
the
down there?
election,
and-
on the election.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, we have to sign all this after sign up.
Thank you.
Yeah. You
So
know,
Thursday will be an
Do that
evening.
and send it to me.
It'll be an evening meeting. Unless there's not a quorum.
Amend it to say 8 to 12 members. So it's
Will you do it? You said to.
No, of the, if they don't have a quorum.